Cheers, and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm still getting sloshed on this shit. I shouldn't. But hey ho, it is what it is. And I'm still here in Norwich, where it almost never snows, it almost always rains, and the bus service is shit. But of course, you didn't come here to hear about my little slogan for Norwich. No, you want another political video, and I'm here to deliver once again. So, hopefully it's not raining anymore. Yeah, it should be alright. Anyway, once again, I wanted to talk a little more about the insulate Britain crisis right now. But I more or less want to direct this more towards the police this time. Because we've all known for some time that we basically live in a two-tier policing system. Where it's one rule for thee, but not for me. Obviously, thee being us, and me being the politicians, the left-wing wokels and all that shit. But we've seen, time and time again, this two-tier policing, where we can see, just to use one example, we see Muslim men spitting in the faces of our armed forces because of what happened in regards to, I think it was the Battle of Basra or whatever. They were getting spat at, they were getting harassed, and the people who did it didn't have anything happen to them. The police did nothing about it. And yet, when a man, and I think you know who, decides he wants to jump over a rail to stop people burning poppies, they arrest him. Or what about insulate Britain with regards to a bagpiper that was along the M25, I believe it was, who, when he started blasting the bagpipes in their faces, okay, it may be a little obnoxious, but hey-ho, it's pretty much akin to what insulate Britain's doing by blocking the road. But what did the police do? They immediately jumped on the guy. Not jumped on him literally, but they told him to move. They told him to move, but they weren't so much worried about the insulate Britain wankers who were continuing to block one of the main highways. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I may sound ignorant on this. And yes, this is obvious sarcasm. Anyway, I was under the impression that it was illegal to block the road. I mean, that's the impression I got when I read the 1989 Highway Code Act. I think it was Rule 30, if I remember correctly. About basically, people must be off the roads. They must not block the roads, and they certainly can't do it with regards to emergency services. But of course, I could be wrong. I could be very, very wrong about this. But that was the impression I got last time I checked that fucking highway code. But enough about that. As said, this is more directed towards the police. Because we have clearly seen from time to time that these See You Next Tuesdays have been basically two cheeks of the same arse, as it were. To coin a phrase from We've Got a Problem. Great guy, a lot more blunt than I am, which is saying something. Does some great content, I recommend you check him out. But anyway, they will always be heavy-handed when it comes down to people who are either on the centre or the right wing of politics. And I'd know this firsthand because I've been to a few protests myself. And I've always seen that when it comes down to Antifa, generally, the police aren't in full riot gear. They're not armed and ready for war, as it were. However, when it comes down to the centre or right-wing politics, they have got full riot gear people, dozens of officers at the ready, threatening behaviour towards innocent British people, and ready to whack them at the first sign of over-excitedness. And sometimes they will even attack people, unprovoked. However, when it comes down to Black Lives Matter, or Black Lies Matter, when it comes down to Antifa, when it comes down to, in this case, Insulate Britain, we don't see a single cop in full riot gear, unless they have been getting completely and utterly rowdy and they have to do something about it, or they may end up getting seriously hurt. But they don't do it at the first sign of overexcitedness, I can fucking tell you that much. And on top of this, sorry, I need another quick swig. Oh yeah, that felt good. Anyway, when it comes down to Insulate Britain, you will not see a single one of them actually in full riot gear, unless they were really planning to be threatening or some shit, which I guarantee you they won't, because their main objective is to block the roads, not fight the police, which I suppose is one good fucking thing. However, it doesn't change the fact that the police, when they speak to Insulate Britain, when they actually go out of their way, on the very few occasions when they do, and they decide to actually speak to these Insulate Britain wankers, they use a very kid gloves approach. They're like, please could you move within a minute, or please can you get off the road. There are officers, and I'm afraid this is the point where strong language starts to get used, because as I've said before, this is the sort of shit that brings my blood to a boil. But we have officers literally begging these Insulate Britain wankers to move. They're not telling them, they're asking them, basically, or begging them, more appropriately, to get off the road. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong again, because I could sound very ignorant on this, but last time I checked, the police, A, are supposed to be politically neutral, and therefore cannot be taking sides. B, are hired to basically keep the peace and restore order as quickly as possible. And C, not basically treat people in different classes, treat people in regards to who they are, rather than what they're doing. Let me give you a couple of examples after I've had another drink. Right, let me give you a couple of examples. So, let's say there's a group of people, we'll call them the A squad, just for the sake of the example. And A squad is, I don't know, centre of politics. But then they decide they want to protest about something. Maybe it's pay gap, maybe it's equality. And then they decide to get physically violent, and they start to riot, and there are actually cars being tipped over, and all that shit. All that stuff you'd expect rowdy behaviour from. That's the point when they start bringing in the riot squads, or should bring in the riot squads, and tear gas and all that shit. That's when they should actually be doing something regarding using their heavy forces, as it were. However, I don't think it's required for, say, these people that are blocking the road. That being said, I do believe that these cops should be moving these people out the road more liberally. The second example I'll give is, let's call them B-. Why not? But anyway, let's call them B-. And let's say these guys are peacefully protesting, and they're protesting about freedom of speech, and then all of a sudden the police decide to come along, full riot gear, batons at the ready to whack people. And they are sometimes attacking them unprovoked. That, of course, is exactly the wrong time you should be using that shit. Exactly the wrong behaviour you are displaying against people that are supposed to be peaceful. And most importantly, you're basically discriminating against that group. Or what about Group C, where we call them the Sea Warriors, and they are actually committing violent acts on the spot. They're rioting, all that shit, all the usual stuff. And then, instead of full riot gear, or maybe they are in full riot gear for all I know, and then the police either refuse to treat this as a serious situation, or in some cases, we've even seen them running away from Muslims that have been rioting. Obviously, this is another wrong approach, and that they're now being too soft. This is the example of what it is with insulate Britain. They are being way too soft, and they shouldn't be saying to them, please can you move off the road? They should be saying, move your fucking ass off the road now. Forget about pleasantries, because you've got to bear in mind that even in the highway code, if you refuse to get out of the road, police can arrest you on the spot. No questions asked. And that's what they should be doing with these insulate Britain wankers. They should be going in and removing these people from the roads, and anybody who either A, refuses to get off the road, or B, actively tries to get back on said road after being told to get off it, they should be arrested on the spot. And it's just started raining again. Please excuse me. God, you'd almost think I was in the wars. Anyway, these people, if they refuse to get off the road, or they try to actively get back on it, as I said, they should be arrested on the spot, no questions asked. And they need to start putting some severe penalties on these fuckers. Because that, I guarantee you, will deter a lot more of these people from doing it again. It's a bit like the same tactics they used for a certain man that was banned from that restaurant, as I was discussing. But I don't really want to talk about him, because it's not really about him. It's about insulate Britain and the police. But they should be putting on severe penalties for this. They should start off with considerable fines, and if they still continue to do it, jail time. No suspended sentences, no waiting around, just stick them in the fucking slammer. Because we, the British people, whether it's in Manchester, whether it's in London, whether it's in Norwich, whether it's in Cardiff or wherever, we do not support these wankers blocking the road and obstructing it for the ordinary British people. As I said before, these guys have been directly responsible for the delay of medicines and other critical supplies that Britain needs, as well as the delays to emergency services, all of which puts British people's lives in danger. And I think if the British police had a slight ounce more integrity, I think they'd be understanding just how serious this is and actually start doing their job. But of course, we know what the police are like. They're usually more interested in going after TR. They're more interested in stopping mean tweets on the internet. They're more interested in going along with the woke agenda. They are more interested in serving their government rather than their own people. And I know they won't like me saying that. But who am I? Less than 100 views on most of my videos. Who am I? I'm a nobody again. I'm having to build back up. From the bottom up. Because as I said before, starting over is much harder than starting up. These people in the British police need to get their heads out of their six, as it were, and do their job. I know they won't like me saying that. I know they won't like me criticising them. I know they won't like it that I'm saying that they are basically the left-wing wokel police. The vast majority of them are, unfortunately. I don't like tarring people with the same brush. But unfortunately, if you have a basket of apples and there's one rotten apple in that whole basket, it can go to other apples as well and infect them. I don't think I need to mention the story about Wayne Couzens. I think that has already had enough coverage. But as I've said before, when it's been a protest with right-wing, far-right, or centre of politics people, they have not hesitated to bring in full riot gear police, truncheons at the ready, to hit people who show the slightest sign of overexcitedness. In most protests, it's completely peaceful, that I've been to. The only time it starts getting rowdy is when there are a few infiltrators in there who stage the violence or stage the confrontations with the wokel police, or it's when the police are attacking those people and then the people react back. It's called self-defense. And the way I look at it is respect is a two-way street. Don't be surprised if you get pushed, expect to be pushed back. But the police, I don't really want to say it, but if they're doing that shit to the centre and the right wing of politics, why aren't they doing it to the left as well? That would be equality. It would be thuggish, it would be brutal, that you would still be called the Gestapo, but at least you could say, well, at least we're doing it to all sides and not just one or the other. But obviously two rights don't make a wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. You know what I mean. The right answer is, of course, they treat everyone fairly and they actually act reasonable. But when have our police done that? The wokel police will not take action against the insulate Britain wankers. Or at least not enough action, or not the correct actions. Which is, they should go in firm but fair, ask them once to move off the road as an order. So basically you're telling them, get off the road, and if you refuse, you'll be arrested. Those that do get arrested, give them fines, and then if they continue doing it, heavy sentences in prison. Give them a few years to start off, 4 or 5 years, that'll do. And anybody who complies, fair enough, leave them alone. As long as they don't get back on the road. But the moment they get back on the road, treat it as if they're refusing and arrest them on the spot. I don't think anybody watching this video thinks that's unreasonable. Or would think, I should say, that it's unreasonable. I can't say they're thinking it straight away because there might not be anybody viewing at the moment. Anyway, I doubt anybody would say that what I'm saying about the rules about firm but fair, one chance, one order, you refuse, you get arrested. I don't think people would say that's unreasonable. Because you've got to bear in mind, these motherfuckers are breaking the law. They are breaking the law in regards to the Highway Code Act 1989. They are blocking emergency services potentially. They're stopping people from commuting to work. And as such, they are disrupting the country. And they're not just disrupting it in a small manner of, oh, well, this is a minor inconvenience. No, this is causing major disruptions. This is blocking supplies. It's stopping people getting to work. It's stopping people getting to job interviews and therefore making them lose the potential fucking job career. It's stopping parents from being able to pick up their kids. It's stopping parents from being able to drop off their kids. And in the former's case about the kids, it's actually, potentially, it's putting them in danger. If we were to actually get really serious on that matter. That's the thing. This is not a little inconvenience, or a little inconvenient for that matter. This is a major disruption, and it should be treated as such. One warning, get off the road or get arrested. Get off the road or you'll get a free taxi, metaphorically speaking, to your nearest slammer. I mean, look what they've done with people on the centre or right wing of politics already. Basically arresting them on false charges, putting them in jail. In some people's cases, putting them before a judge, no jury, no trial, and sentencing them to prison for a crime they didn't commit in under an hour. Do you see where I'm coming from now? So you should consider this a warning, British police. Because if this shit comes to Norwich, and they start disrupting my roads, I'll give you about 5 minutes to respond after I call you. And if you don't move these people, I will. And believe you me, I am not going to be gentle about it. And in fact, it won't just be me removing them. I'm sure there will be other members of the British public who are willing to help me do it. And as for the people in Manchester, I'm pretty sure Manchester's got a lot of burly blokes out there who are more than willing to move the trash. They have got plenty of people who are willing to pick up the rubbish bags from the road. And yes, I do call them rubbish, the Insulate Britain wankers, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who will move these guys off the road. Because a lot of the people who are doing it in Insulate Britain aren't exactly strong themselves. It's mostly young sheeple, elderly sheeple, or just middle-aged people that aren't that strong, if I may be brutally blunt about it. And this is not to critique their characteristics, but I can assure you that there will be much stronger people than those Insulate Britain people who will drag them off the road, because they've already been doing so. They will take the trash and basically remove it. They will do your job for you. That's basically the message I'm getting to you, not Insulate Britain, British police. Either you do your jobs properly, fairly, and remove these people from the road, or we, the British people, will start doing it for you. And believe you me, it will not be as pleasant as you guys could potentially be. As I said in my previous Insulate Britain video, I'm not advocating for violence. Sorry, I think there's a chainsaw or some shit going on over there. Anyway, I'm not calling for violence on these people. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh well, go on, kill these guys or murder these guys or whatever. I'm not saying that we should be committing violence against Insulate Britain. I've said it before, and I'm only going to say it a couple of times this time because I've already made it perfectly fucking clear in the previous video. I do not advocate for the violence against Insulate Britain, but I will fully understand why people would go down the route of violence for the amount of aggravation that Insulate Britain have caused. That simply means I will be understanding, but I will still condemn the people that are doing it. I will still condemn the people committing the acts of violence in the first place. And as I said as well in the previous video, they're already walking in the middle of the road into oncoming traffic. And I will make this point perfectly clear as well. 2 points actually. First and foremost, if one of these Insulate Britain wankers gets killed in an accident because the driver couldn't react in time, or one of them does something really stupid, these insulate Britain wankers. A, they are not the victims, they are the perpetrators. And secondly, they have no right after that to say, oh, well, you see, we're afraid of violence. People are getting violent with us. No, you brought that upon yourselves. And secondly, if they are willing to have no regard for their own health and their own safety and their own lives, and as well as that, the lives of the motorists on the M25, where it took place, then we basically shouldn't shed a tear if an accident does happen. And that, as I said, these people have brought it upon themselves, and I'm getting hit by shit now. I'm getting hit by fucking conkers. Unbelievable. Anyway, they have brought that upon themselves if that happens. God, I don't know if that was instant karma or whatever, but it is what it is. But in all seriousness, we have to treat this for what it is. And as I said, I don't want to be sitting here saying that things are going to get violent with these people. But the cold, bitter truth is, it's going to happen. Sooner or later, it will happen. And as I said, British police, you've basically got two choices in the matter. You can either do your job, and you can be firm and fair with these insulate Britain wankers and give them the warning that if they do not move off the road, they will be arrested, and then take appropriate actions to either ensure they are off the road or off the streets if they refuse, or you can continue this kid glove approach, do nothing with regarding to these insulate Britain wankers, and then you'll have to face the harsh reality of British people doing your job for you. And as I've said and will say again, the British people will most likely not be using the kid gloves that you lot have been using. I am pretty sure of that much. My socks are actually getting wet now. I think I need new trainers. Anyway, that is the point I needed to make. You British police have basically been slacking off your duties, which is funny because you never seem to do that when it comes down to the centre or right wing of politics. You never seem to do that when it comes down to some other wank stains that are blocking the road or actively disrupting Britain. You never seem to be heavy-handed with them, or you never seem to do your job when it comes down to them. But you're more than willing to be heavy-handed with the other side. This is why I say the British police is a two-tier policing system. To some extent, three-tier, because you've got your ordinary British person, then you've got the left wing, then you've got your politicians. Or at least that's the way I like to think of it. That's the cold bitter truth. Again, you've been refusing to do your job. The job that the British people may not have hired you to do per se, but you are hired to do regardless. Your job, unconditionally and categorically, is to protect and serve the British people and to restore order when there is disruptions and chaos brewing in it, or rather the country you're in. That goes for any country. Not just Britain. That is the job of the police in every country around the world, to protect and serve and to keep the peace and restore order as quickly as possible. And yet, the British police have failed to do so on a regular basis now, especially when it comes down to the left-wing wokel population, the sheeple, if you like. So, what is your choice, British police? I've asked the question before, and I'll ask it again. Who do you serve? Do you serve the British people, or do you serve your own government? Do your job, remove these wankers from the road, or the British public will do it for you. My name's Dabima, and or Abathorex if you want, and I am, as always, very, very bad news for the wokel population in the insular Britain movement, and I am very bad news, of course, for our British police, who continue to use kid gloves against a movement that is actively and obnoxiously disrupting the country. I guarantee you, if it was a centre or right-wing movement, they would be heavy-handed in less than a few minutes of arrival. Am I wrong? Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.